At the outset, we are privileged to welcome Reverend Father Dr. QnA, Director of SMC Com, Mr. Prasadh Murali, Bitcoin Advocate and Global Strategist, and Mr. Charan, Bitcoin Analyst. At a time when digital currencies and blockchain technology are transforming global finance, today's workshop is both timely and significant. Their presence will help us to understand how Bitcoin and related technologies can drive financial empowerment and inclusion. A special welcome to our faculty members, participants and guests. We are confident that today's session will be informative, engaging and inspiring, fast and meaningful discussions and learning opportunities for everyone present. I would like to mention that this workshop has received an overwhelming response from colleges across the state. Almost 500 registrations completed till now. Institutions such as St. Francis College of Women, St. Anne's PG College for Women, St. Joseph's Degree and PG College, Government Degree College, Hyderabad, Tapasya Degree College, St. Pius Degree College, Degree and PG College, Avinash Degree College, Wesley Degree College and many more have registered. A warm welcome to all the participants from these institutions as well. A big round of applause to all these colleges. St. Mary's Centenary College of Management has consistently stood at the forefront of higher education, empowering the students with cutting-edge knowledge and practical skills. Our commitment to exploring the latest trends and emerging topics ensures that the student community is always well prepared to meet the challenges of rapidly evolving world. Once again, a warm welcome to all of you, and we wish this workshop great success. It's now time to invite our esteemed guests to the dais and felicitate them. May I request everyone to join me in welcoming Reverend Father Dr. QnA, Director of SMC Com, Mr. Prasadh Murali, Bitcoin Advocate and Global Business Strategist. Welcome you, sir. And Mr. Charan, Bitcoin Analyst. Welcome you, sir. Let's welcome them with a big round of applause. Thank you, Father. We are privileged to now hear a few words of wisdom from our guiding force. I invite Reverend Father Dr. QnA, Director of SMC Com, to address the gathering.
Very good morning to all of you. Hello. Hello. Yeah. So I thought nobody's in the hall. I cannot hear any voice. So good. I welcome you first of all to Centenary's campus, and I take this privilege to appreciate all the faculty for organizing this Bitcoin education and financial inclusion, this program for all of you. And today especially we have with us Mr. Prasadh Murali and Mr. Charan. So thank you for coming. Personally, for me, of course, I hear this term Bitcoin, but I didn't buy it. I don't know. I have not yet bought the Bitcoin. Maybe after the talk, you will see. Of course, we hear about this Bitcoin, this currency, the digital currency and things like that. And see, financial management is something we have to learn, especially as MBA students. Managing our finances is very, very important. And how you plan your career. And of course, making money, all of us, we need money. So that is what you are preparing for. So today, I'm sure our experts will give more guidelines and suggestions and how to develop more financial growth, which is very, very essential. So there is a smart way of making money. Some people are there who sitting at home also they make money, maybe with the stock markets and things like that. Some maybe they go for the job and make money. Some create wealth. They become entrepreneurs with their ideas and things like that. So you have to assess yourself, and of course we can learn skills. That is what I believe. I always tell my students, if you have passion for something, you can learn the skill, you can achieve anything. But only thing, you have to believe in yourself. That is very important. And today I am very happy that so many students have come from different colleges. We welcome you to St. Mary's. And today, as you see, many of our students here, they are actively involved in organizing this event. So that is what we do at St. Mary's. We appreciate them, all of them. And special appreciation to all the staff also for organizing this wonderful event. So without taking much time, I hand over, and I wish this program goes on well and that you have a great experience here at St. Mary's campus. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you, Father, for your insightful and inspiring words. Now we move to the distribution of certificates and token of appreciation to all those who actively participated in this workshop. May I request the students of St. Francis College of Women to kindly come forward and receive their certificates. Any two members, please come forward. From St. Francis College of Women. St. Anne's PG College for Women. St. Joseph's Degree and PG College, please come forward. Only two members for each college. Students will get certificates after finishing the workshop. Government Degree College, Hyderabad, please come. St. Anne's PG College. Bitcoin advocate and global business strategist with extensive expertise in blockchain technology, cryptocurrency innovation, and financial education. He has been driving force in promoting digital literacy and financial empowerment, bridging the gap between technology and inclusive financial systems. He has addressed several national and international forums, sharing his profound insights on how Bitcoin and blockchain can reshape the future of finance and foster sustainable economic inclusion. His visionary approach and deep commitment to education continue to inspire professionals and young minds alike. We also extend a warm welcome to Mr. Charan, whose expertise and dynamic perspective add immense pleasure to today's discussion. His active involvement in promoting financial awareness and emerging digital trends makes him an inspiring voice in this field. We are truly honored to have both our distinguished speakers with us today. Now I invite Mr. Prasadh Murali to lead the session and to enlighten us with his valuable insights on Bitcoin education and financial inclusion.
you for organizing this. Thanks to Father Melissa, Principal Sir, Indira ma'am. So it's very rare and special that an education institution coming forward for a topic like this at the moment, because as you know, the financial inclusion of Bitcoin is very much important nowadays, as you guys can see in social media and the news about the importance, what kind of impacts it's coming across geopolitical topics, starting from our country to Mr. Trump in the US, and how the big industrialists and business people are adapting Bitcoin into their own business transactions and agenda. So my name is Guru. So I am part of learning of Bitcoin and sharing the knowledge. Still, as well as outside as well. And to start with it, this is a Bitcoin India tour. It's happening today, and it is being hosted and organized by Centenary's group of institutions and SwapSo. SwapSo is a upcoming new wallet, which is self-custody based, which is very secure, and then supported by Sazminning. So Sazminning is the mining partner. We can able to mine the Bitcoin through our process. So that is the supported company. So here, how many of you are familiar with cryptocurrency or digital currency? Like anyone, are you guys using it or doing any transactions or trading? I think here more than 100 people are there. Anyone who is into it or started going through it? How many of you have heard about Bitcoin in the news? Okay, there are many people. So you guys are hearing this in news as well as in social media platforms, right? Okay. So how many of you do you guys know about fiat currency? Because fiat currency is the one which we are using right now for our daily transactions. So fiat is FIAT. So fiat currency is the currency which we use, like INR, USD, Japanese yen, and euros, pounds. These are all fiat currencies. And digital currencies is like Bitcoin, which is also referred as cryptocurrency. So the word crypto is very secure. It cannot be easily, it is very highly encrypted and which is very secure. So that is the word for crypto. Earlier during the World Wars, cryptography they used to get many important data from other countries, many secrets. So in that way, crypto is a very strong word which is very secure, and not any outsiders can able to easily take your assets, which is your money. So coming to the Bitcoin, so Bitcoin is being in the market of about more than a decade, but for the last 2-3 years, this has been a big topic for many big people. Now it is coming to us common people as well across the globe, which we can able to slowly use it. So this is all about money. So because we are all dependent on it to run our lives. So that's what I mentioned. This is our INR of and 1000 rupees. So in that case, like this is a physical element, like we are using our Google Pay, Phone Pay, of our fiat currencies, which is like a digital transactions. So we can also go to an ATM or a bank and take out the coins and notes, which we can able to circulate it. But it involves many physical aspects. But the advantage is going to come in the next slides of using Bitcoin. So let's go back to the history, like how has money have evolved. So basically, if you see money, like which is a transaction. So earlier in the super ancient times and before like 5,000 years, 10,000 years, or even before like 500 years, like we were using different items like physical products to get a transaction. For example, if any of you has any food products like salt or a rice, or because all those industrialization phones and machines are all like for the last 200 years. But before that, the main core is the food. How we are going to get the food? If I give you some kind of transactions of any objects, like let's say salt, or so in the long ago we were using rice stone and seashells, and then later we were using gold, silver. Like this is the evolution of money. Like we were used for transaction, we were using animals as well, goats, cow, and then we were using gold, silver, and other ornaments. Then came the metal coins, like where we would have seen like 10 paise, 5 paise, 20 paise, which is long ago, like approximately 100 years. Then we started getting into printing the money. Like the government decides like what is going to be circulation and expenditure, and accordingly we are printing it. So next comes our now present transactions, which we are using it, credit cards, debit cards for our transactions. And then comes the electronic money, which we are using it for the last 5 to 10 years, which I have mentioned. Like Google Pay, Paytm, Phone Pay, we are using all our INR, and we can also pay in other fiat currencies like USD through this new age apps, Google Pay and Phone Pay, like that. But what is the next? Because, for example, if I have a friend, let's say they are in the US or Belgium, Japan or Australia, so if I have to send the money, there are many factors involved, like banks. Let's say if I'm using an Indian bank or HDFC, and they are using like Wales Fargo or any banks in London or Singapore, so my bank will process it. So there is a mediating element is there. So my bank will take some time to process it, and then it has to go to their own country, and they have to check about my authenticity, and then they have to exchange that currency, and then they have to put it into my friend's account, which is taking much longer time, and it involves many intermediate factors as well. But coming to the Bitcoin, so there is it is called as a perfect money, where you can get your friends, they may be anywhere in the world. It is like how we are getting the UPI ID, which we ask our friends, like Google Pay number or UPI ID. Like that, we have a separate ID, like public key, which we can able to transfer it immediately, and the transaction time is very less. We can have the money, which is the Bitcoin, can be sent to their wallet in like few minutes, and they can able to use immediately. So why this is called a perfect money? Because it is about the scarcity. For example, if you are talking about fiat currency, which the governments can able to print it, which means it is there in their control. Like how much ever they want, they can print it and they can circulate it. But in this, it has very fixed supply. Like it cannot be generated. No, there is one fixed supply. We will go through that. And as I mentioned, it is instantly and processly verifiable, whether it is authentic or not. Now we are talking about all the black money and white money, white currencies. So in this case, it is fully authentic and it is portable. As I mentioned, like we need not have to have our currencies like coins or any notes in a purse or in the pocket. It is purely digital. So which means it is easily portable and it is divisible. Like for example, we can able to transfer, let's say if you want to transfer like one.
Why we need it. So Bitcoin is the most recent form of money, and if you ask any Bitcoiner, he would say it's the best form of money. So for that, we need to understand what money is. Throughout history, money is a tool, as shown in the previous slides. Money is simply a tool that solves the problem of double coincidence of wants. So let's go back thousands of years when we were a small village or a small tribe. I had my cattle, someone else had his onions farm, someone else produces rice. So how do we trade between each other? Correct. So barter system was the first evolution of money which allowed us, so I take, let's say you're producing onions and I'm producing say rice, and I need onions and you need rice. So we determine a certain exchange rate for rice to onions and we trade at that rate. So this works great as long as the rice doesn't go bad or onions goes bad. The onions don't last very long. For the boys who don't go to the kitchen, onions don't last very long. So we need something that is more durable, that is more longer lasting, so that we can trade in these, we can trade in goods and services that expire quickly. So it's over time what we evolved was silver and gold and all these metals because they are very durable and and the problem of double coincidence of wants is, what if I don't want your onions? What if I need tomatoes? But the tomato guy is not willing to take my rice. So how do we solve that trifecta problem? So here, over time, the free market mechanism has allowed the evolution of another neutral good, which we don't use it for consumption. Like metal in itself, metal coins is completely useless to us. But its only utility is to allow us to trade between these three goods. So over time, more goods were added and we can develop complex economies thanks to this technology, because if we are only relying on onions and rice to trade between us, then we cannot build complex systems. Whereas if we have a form of money that can last for a very long time, for example gold and many other metals, it will last for decades or even centuries. In fact, gold, once it's mined, we cannot destroy it, right? So it is very longer lasting, and now that allows us to think and build complex systems to trade between us. So that is the basic function of money. And throughout history, like I said, we've had multiple forms of money, from stones to seashells to gold. And there were also in places they used to trade with cows and cattle, and pearls were used in the Gulf, in Arab Gulf state where pearls are very abundant. So throughout history, all these different forms of money were used. So now the next question should be, what differentiates, what makes one money good and the other one bad? Why aren't we using salt and cattle as money anymore? Why are we using paper notes today? And why has copper and all these other metals, even though iron and copper are much more durable than gold and silver, why don't we use them? Why gold? Because 24 karat gold, it's very malleable, it bends easily, it's very weak, whereas we still prefer gold. So iron is more durable, right? So because the function of money is not just its scarcity or durability, there's a lot of different functions if it's not visible for the people in the back. Scarcity is the reason why we don't use iron as a form of money and we use gold, because the Earth's core, 30%, 40% of it's made up of iron. We don't know how much iron there is. There's pretty much unlimited iron. So if we value iron, say 1 kilo of iron is worth a car, iron is so abundant in nature that the iron ore producers will produce more of it and they'll buy up all the stuff which is available on the market, thus reducing value of that iron. Because if all the iron is extracted from the earth and dumped onto the market to buy these goods, then there will be an abundance of iron and iron will stop being the form of money. So all these metals, even though they are more durable and better than gold in some aspects, gold and silver are the only two metals that are the scarcest. All the other metals that are created from the earth's core, I'm getting a bit off topic of the meteorology and all, but it's interesting, so I'll just go with that. The gold found on earth it came to us via asteroids over millions of years, so it is very limited. There's only limited amount of gold. So now, what gold allows us is to use that it is a neutral tool which allows us to trade, and the problem with other forms of money and the reason why they went extinct, like cows, you can reproduce more cows, so there's abundance of food, there's abundance of crop, so you can feed that to cows, you can reproduce more cows, so you'll have an oversupply of cows. So each cow's value will go down. Whereas gold, there's only limited amount of gold, regardless of how much mining activity goes on. We only extract 2 to 3% of gold every year max, that's it. Whereas with iron, say, some new technology to build buildings is invented and that requires more iron, we can easily take that iron out. So that the iron's price won't go up because of that. Whereas for gold, it keeps going up in price because there's only limited amount of it, but people are buying it non-stop. So because of that scarcity, it ensures that it remains stable and its value doesn't crash. And to give you a few other examples like that, in the Arab Gulf, before 1970s, even before that time, they used pearls. Pearls were very valuable. They used that to trade between each other. But as you can see, people don't use pearls to trade anymore because the technology to produce artificial pearls has been invented and you cannot distinguish between the artificial one and the fake one. Whereas for gold, that has not happened yet. So gold is the only scarce one. All other forms of money, they don't satisfy all of these properties of money. So iron is not scarce. Some metals are heavy, like cows are not very portable, and cows are also not scarce. And it also needs to be divisible. Another form of money, another asset, and an instrument or a tool that has been used throughout the history to store wealth is land or real estate. Because even land satisfies a lot of these properties. For example, it is very scarce, you cannot produce more land. Even though now, again in Dubai, they're pulling out sand from the bottom of the ocean and they're building more land. But throughout the history, that has not been the case. So land has been very scarce, which is why land is so valuable today along with gold. Whereas, like I've said, iron, copper and cows are not that valuable and we don't use that to trade. And so divisible problem, so real estate, it's not very divisible. Say I have a flat and I want to pay you, I cannot sell my kitchen to you to get my car. I cannot do that. So in our culture, because we intrinsically know how valuable that property of gold is. Nobody studies all these properties of money and then decides to buy gold. The gold just naturally evolves to be that because the guy who holds all of his wealth in iron, he lost all of his wealth and he lost all of his money. And the people who were storing all their wealth in the pearls in Dubai, near that, the guy who had all of his wealth in that, he lost all his wealth because gold is a superior form of money and fulfills these properties better than the inferior forms of money. So it does not take a marketing team, it does not take people to learn all of this and then to decide if they want gold or not. It's just a free market. The guy who chooses the wrong form of money, his wealth will be lost away. And the one who chooses the superior form of money, which again throughout history have been land and gold, he holds his wealth. So eventually the wealth will accumulate with the guy who has the gold and the land, and the people who store their wealth in the inferior form of money, he will lose their wealth. I can give you real life examples of how tragic this can be. In Western Africa, they used glass beads as a form of money. It was very valuable. But when the Britishers and the Europeans discovered that and they had the technology to produce those glass beads, because glass beads were so valuable in that particular region in Nigeria and Western Africa, whereas in Europe it's so easy to produce, it's basically free for them, it's that cheap. So that now they produce all of these glass beads and they dump the Western African markets to buy up all this stuff. And that has eventually led to slavery. That's how it all got started. Because their money was so inferior and it was so easy to produce the glass beads, they lost all their wealth to the Europeans. So a lot of wealth drain has happened, and that was the beginning story of black slavery in United States and in America as well. Now, India's situation is not as tragic. We were just colonized, but we were not taken into slavery because we use a slightly better form of money than glass beads. We use silver. So even in silver versus gold, gold has a lower inflation rate. Silver's inflation rate is around 20%, and there's a lot of industry use for it, whereas for gold there's none. So because silver is an inferior form of money to the gold, throughout the last 300-400 years, silver has been losing its value against gold. So if you have it's actually a big misconception. People think silver is cheap, so let me buy tons of silver instead of gold because gold has gone up a lot. But that's actually a misconception because silver is still inferior, and even though gold is much more valuable than silver already, it keeps going up. That's what's been happening for the past 400-500 years. And India's currency was based on silver, and Britain was one of the top spot. It was one of the first places in the world that fully adopted the gold standard. That's the reason why they conquered so much of the world, because that allows them to have an advantage in trade. How was India conquered by the Britishers? It was through trade. It was through the East India Company. Through trade, they had an advantage. So our money, silver isn't as bad as glass beads, which is completely very inferior. So that's why we didn't experience that traumatic incidents, but we still were colonized. This is the base reason for all of that. So now, why do we use, gold works from 1727 to 1914, the British pound was backed by gold. So 1 ounce of gold was redeemable for 3.25 British pounds. So the price of gold was fixed. For 200 years, it was established by Sir Isaac Newton in 1727. And for 200 years, the price of gold was fixed. That means the British pound was backed by gold. So say in an 18th century or a 19th century British economy, the guy goes out, the person, he earns his money and he receives his money in the British pounds. That means he's saving all of his money in gold, because each British pound is directly redeemable for the amount of gold. So people did not have to learn all these mutual funds, stock market. They didn't have to tune up to what Nirmala Sitaraman is saying. They didn't have to do none of that. They could just focus on their work, their craft, and they would receive their money in the British pounds, which was backed by gold. So they would save all their wealth in gold. This worked fine till 1914, but in 1914 some incidents happened that made us go away from that world to the fiat world that we now live in. So British pound was backed by gold for that long, but in 1914, because of World War I, that got decoupled. So the fiat currency is not backed by gold anymore. This has been the case since 1914. So for many centuries before that point of time, it was backed by gold, so you didn't have to invest your money and research all these complex investments. You could just imagine you received all your money in rupees and you didn't have to put your money in land, you didn't have to buy gold, you didn't have to invest in stock market, you didn't have to do none of that. You just hold your rupees, and because it's backed by gold, the value of your rupees goes up over time. Right now we live in the inverse world of that. The price of stuff goes up, that means our rupees getting weaker day by day. Whereas, because in that period of two centuries, because there have been a lot of technological advancements, the price of phone goes down every year, right? Because there is new innovation. So with new innovation and civilization progress, the price of stuff goes down. So if you just hold your money in British pounds or any currency that was backed by gold, you could hold that money and it would buy you more stuff next year or 5 years or 10 years from now. So this is how the world worked for a long period of time, and during this period is when our civilization peaked at a lot of aspects. Most of the inventions were happening during this time. Yeah, we have internet, yeah, we have all this tech nowadays, but the base for all of that inventions were made during those periods. There's a concept called 0 to 1 and 1 to many. 0 to 1 is the It's the quantum leap. To go from sticks, bows and arrows to building the basic gun, and from taking that gun and refining it and making it slightly better, and you get a highly advanced tech gun today. Or gun is probably not the best example, but telecommunications, Wi-Fi, radio, all of these things were invented in those periods of time, and ever since then we've only slowly refined, we slightly made it better. We got commercialized, so we built bigger factories that brought down the price. Yeah, it is some progress, but that gigantic quantum leap has been made in that period of time when we use gold as money. So now you may ask, why does the form of money have anything to do with how the world works? Because it is actually everything. Money is 50% of every transaction. A lot of what we do, even though some may not admit, a lot of it is for money. Many families break down because of money. So it is very important to understand how money operates or the property of money. So what gold allowed is, because there was no inflation, because the currency was backed by gold, is now you can think for the long term. I receive my salary on the first day of the month, let's say, and by the end of the month I lose 30% of my wealth, then that will make me want to spend all my money as quickly as possible. So we observe this in such countries which are going through hyperinflation. People will buy all the things, even the ones they don't need, because I would rather have this thing that I don't need than lose half my money because of inflation by the end of the month. So this kind of thinking reduces your time, your mental model of thinking. You cannot operate in the future. This is called high time preference, which means you indulge in today at the cost of tomorrow. Consuming junk food even though it harms your health tomorrow. Or wasting your time watching some thing that won't add value to your life for the momentary pleasure at the cost of tomorrow. It encourages that kind of behavior because your money is losing all your wealth. So regardless of how much work you do, you cannot save that. So that encourages reckless spending. Whereas on gold, when people could hold their wealth for a long period of time, that now allows me to plan for the future. I can now think, okay, let me start a business, let me invest 10 crore in it, and maybe I won't make any profit for the first 2 years, but from the third year, I can make money. So building a business, I can now provide jobs, I can give a product to the economy. So that will help civilization push forward, whereas now that is facilitated by gold, whereas with fiat currencies which are highly inflated, all my wealth is being lost away every month, every day. So that now I cannot think for the future. So that has crazy ripple effects across all these fields. You can also observe this. I give you an example of business. We can see this in the music industry, in the arts industry as well. Back then, during their time, there was that 200 period of time when we were on the strict gold standard. The greatest, we had Beethoven, Mozart, who spent decades learning their craft before they could do a single performance. And then at the age of 40 or 50, they start to commercialize because they spend their whole life of 4 decades perfecting their craft, and then you get the superior product in the end. Whereas today, because we cannot think for that long ahead, we now have teenagers dancing on TikTok, producing garbage music, which produces, because they cannot invest that time in perfecting their craft, because for me to spend 4 decades to refine and perfect my craft, my wealth is lost by that time. So that now forces me to get desperate and produce inferior products or services so that I can get an instant sale. We can also see this in architecture. We can see in the old city of Hyderabad, all these buildings were built. In scenario 1, say it takes 10 years to build a building, but it will basically last forever. All these Golconda Fort and all these ancient architects, it took many decades, sometimes centuries to build. Whereas now, because our money is constantly losing away, we have to build quick homes. We need the house ready in a year or 2. So now that is cheaper upfront, but its lifespan will probably be a few decades, and then I have to take down the building, then I have to build another one. Or even during that few decades of time, we have constant maintenance problems because it was not as planned as the ancient structure, the previous way of building. So this has ripple effects across all of these fields. That's how important this property of inflation ruins all of this. It ruins all of, you will get inferior arts, you get all of these great painters that drew Mona Lisa and all these crazy paintings right now are modern day equivalent for that, which we are forced to enjoy the art of today. Is they just splash a bunch of paint on the canvas and you're forced to enjoy that art. Because it is no investment. He couldn't spend that time, he didn't spend decades perfecting his craft. So he just throws a bunch of paint and scrubs it off and he makes you that he calls it art. But back then, during gold standard, when inflation was negligible, when you could plan for the future, now you can spend long times perfecting a craft and also on producing a superior product. So that is how inclusive, that is how destructive inflation is. It ruins everything. Because it disrupts our time perception. We cannot think for the future. So now the reason why we went away from gold standard to fiat, which facilitates all of this, is because of one problem with gold, which is its tendency to centralize. One problem with gold is that it's not very portable. You cannot ship tons of gold around. So eventually, instead of me carrying 10 kilos of gold to you every time I transact with you, a more efficient system would be we both, say you and me want to trade when we want to do business, so we trust another guy with whom I can deposit my gold and he gives me a receipt which is an IOU for that gold. So eventually, which is completely redeemable, so I can give that receipt at any time to that third guy and he'll give back my gold. So that was how banks were founded, to facilitate these gold transactions. Now eventually what ended up happening is we started trading in the IOUs only. So say there were 1,000 kilos of gold and there was one IOU for each kilogram of gold, so there's 1,000 notes in the economy. I can trade each note with anyone I would like to trade with, and the person who receives my note, he can go to that third person, the bank, and he can claim that gold to himself at any point of time. This is how banks were founded, and this mechanism is how the Bank of England functioned at its peak from 1727 to 1940. The British pound was the global reserve, which was backed by gold. All currencies around the world held British pounds, and it was always redeemable to gold. So this ensured we all saved our money in gold without having to carry the gold around. So we were basically trading in gold, but not directly. So that was the closest. And during this period only, all the civilization great things happened. We made a lot of quantum leaps in various different fields. The mortality rate has gone down a lot. The healthcare got improved. Our lifespans got extended. All of that happened in that period of time. But we are not living in that world anymore, as you can see, because of one problem. One problem of gold is that it has a tendency to centralize. So now the third guy, he can scam me, because in that first scenario, when I've given him, the whole economy has given him 1,000 kilograms of gold, and he issues 1,000 kilograms worth of receipts, right? That works fine as long as everybody trusts that guy and give out 1,000 kilograms worth of loans or receipts in the market. But because he has this tendency, because he has this incentive to issue more loans because he can make more profit, that ended up happening, and now we have 1,100 kilograms of receipts, whereas there's only 1,000 kilograms of gold. This is how inflation was first started. Now, this works fine as long as the currency, the paper note still goes around. But it all breaks loose, all hell breaks loose when all those receipts are come to the bank to claim that gold. So the receipts to be redeemed are for 1,100 kilograms of gold, but there's only 1,000 kilograms of gold. that's when the bank defaults. And this is exactly what happened in 1914. It's called the August Bank Holiday. You can look it up. The British pound, which held its exchange rate for more than 200 years, it defaulted on August 1914, when basically all the countries were holding the British pound came to the British government to redeem their gold. The Bank of England said we don't have that gold. So it issued more IOUs than it has gold. And that's when all problems started, because that's when the depegging happened. So now this paper is worth nothing. Now this is completely, it has nothing to do with the gold. That's when the gold price started rising. For 200 years the gold price was fixed. Since 1914, that's when it started growing up. And another episode like this happened in 1971, where another inflationary episode like this has happened. And just like I've mentioned how this ruins all across all fields, there is a website called WTF happened in 1971, which shows the graphs for across all these industries. One second. I don't have a internet connection, I'm sorry. But you can Google WTF happened in 1971, and that shows you graphs across all of these different fields. Basically, employment has gone down, the price, when our parents or our grandparents' generation, a single person earning could, we had huge families, one person earning could feed all of his family, he was able to purchase a house, and he was able to retire early. But now even two people earning in a single family, they double income, no kids, even they are struggling to make ends meet. The price of land and houses have become unaffordable. All of this happened in 1971. That's when it started diverging, because we had another inflationary episode where we depegged from gold. So Bitcoin fixes this. The only problem of gold, which has a tendency to centralize, Bitcoin fixes that. The way Bitcoin fixes that is now, instead of having a physical, anything physical can be confiscated, and because physical objects are hard to move around, it will eventually end up with all of the gold will end up with one guy, and throughout history, if history tells us something, it is always, that guy has always betrayed us, because he has a very high incentive to do so. So the way Bitcoin fixes this, it's completely digital, and we don't trust a single guy, we trust around 1 lakh nodes. A node is a Bitcoin server that is very cheap and inexpensive to run. It can be run by anyone. It costs 20,000, 30,000 rupees to buy that setup. So this, and each Bitcoin node has every single transaction that has ever happened on Bitcoin. And these nodes, 1 lakh nodes like these, ensure the network stays intact. Because if you trust one guy, he may betray you. But decentralized trust is what allows Bitcoin to not be invaded. So Bitcoins, there's only ever going to be 21 million Bitcoin. Not a single Bitcoin more than that. And this is ensured because of this decentralized mechanism. And the whole Bitcoin mining and the nodes process, which is the technical stuff, that was... So these are all Bitcoin nodes. So when you transact through a bank, when I pay someone through UPI, my transaction goes through ICICI Bank, let's say. So ICICI Bank has a few servers. It has one main server and maybe a backup. It has these huge data centers. Google has these huge data centers. Visa, MasterCard. All these companies that facilitate transaction for us, they have their servers are centralized. Again, the tendency to centralize always gets corrupted. So Bitcoin offers this mechanism which is completely decentralized. So now, for the first time in history, I praised land and gold a lot, right? But we have a new kid in the block who offers even lesser inflation than land and gold, which is Bitcoin. So gold, we don't know the final supply of gold, we don't know how much gold there is in the earth. We know that it is very scarce, but all of us started digging out gold, we would get more gold. And land, like I've said, countries are pulling out sand from the bottom of the ocean and they're building more land and on a empty land building high-rise buildings is also kind of inflation for real estate. So the inflation for the two best assets which have helped people save their wealth throughout the history, they are getting inflated, whereas Bitcoin for the first time in history offers zero inflation. This has never happened in the history. There's only ever going to be 21 million Bitcoin. Nobody knows the final supply of gold. Nobody knows how many square kilometers of land there will be. And let's not even get into the other forms of money because we already discussed how they're so inferior and they're practically impossible to use. So all of these complexities of Bitcoin is to ensure that decentralization works seamlessly. Bitcoin is actually very inefficient. It is very expensive to operate. If we have to transact, if we have to pay someone through the Bitcoin network, we have to pay a huge fee. Thereafter, UPI, it's zero fee. Because running a decentralized mechanism is inefficient. Instead of all these nodes, if I just add one node and I just have to put my transaction through one node, it's much more efficient. Whereas now we have to run all of these 1 lakh nodes need to coordinate, and we have Bitcoin miners who have another responsibility to maintain the security of the network. But it's very inefficient. And only a few thousand transactions happen on the Bitcoin network every day. So the transaction space for Bitcoin is very scarce. That's why it's the main problem it fixes is the final settlement happens in a limited neutral money, because everybody in the world trades with dollars, because from 1914 to 1971 the US hegemony took over and the dollar was backed by gold at a particular period of time. So everybody trusts dollars. That's why even dollar is the global reserve currency of today. Although that's changing in the recent years, the countries are stacking more gold. So nobody trusts each other with other currencies. Nobody trusts the Indian rupee. Pakistan doesn't hold Indian rupee, or even China doesn't hold Indian rupee. Nobody holds Indian rupees, and we don't hold any big amounts of any other currency except US dollar, or maybe Swiss franc, or some stable ones like that. So nobody trusts each other with each other currencies. So we need a neutral form of money to trade with against each other. And that is, like I've said, it has historically been gold, or a currency that was backed by gold. So now what Bitcoin does is we can have countries and big banks do settlement between each other in Bitcoin, and because Bitcoin is scarce, and once a transaction is done, it cannot be redeemed. So like how the Bank of England has betrayed the trust of all the countries it held its gold, and then when the countries tried to redeem its gold, they said we don't have that gold. This cannot happen here, because everything is traceable online, everything is tracked by this network of 100,000 nodes. So this fixes the problem of gold, and Bitcoin is very similar to gold when it comes to its economic properties, but it just fixes this one small problem with gold, and that's the reason why it is just like how the Western Africans have lost all their wealth to the Britishers, or just like how India got colonized because we used inferior form of money and they had a superior form of money. Till 2009, gold was your most superior form of money, but since then, someone else is taking away all your wealth. Someone else who is holding another superior form of money is extracting all the wealth, and that is Bitcoin. In the last 10 years, 15 years, Bitcoin has gone up some millions of %, because of this rapid economization of this new asset class that offers zero inflation rate. So eventually, this is the historic returns for Bitcoin. So if we invested in 2008, to 2018, I think this is actually wrong. It needs to be much higher than this. But it has outperformed every other asset class. Bitcoin is the best performing asset. For most of the years in the past 15 years, there is no other asset you could have invested in, maybe except like, you could have probably made more money if you won a lottery, maybe that. But except that, Bitcoin has offered the most superior form of returns, and to explain why it gave you such returns, the explanation I gave earlier is the reason why it offers such a crazy return. It's basically we are reliving that period when the Britishers discovered that these guys are using the inferior form of money, which is glass beads, and now we can buy up all this stuff. So now Bitcoiners over the past decade, they store their wealth in Bitcoin. Their wealth grows up a lot, and now they can buy up all the other stuff and indirectly take others' money because they hold the superior form of money. So that is the base case for why Bitcoin is such an asset class you cannot ignore, because you may end up like that Western African slave, unfortunately. So now the whole Bitcoin Bharat and the whole Bitcoin India tour is to spread with the common man about this mechanism so that you can save your wealth and be on this side of the fence where you can retain your wealth and not lose it to the guy who holds it. Another popular misconception or myth is people think, oh, what about Bitcoin? I'm having my decent life, I'm doing my job, I have money invested in land or gold. Why do I need to care about Bitcoin? My stuff already gives me a good enough return. And there's very few people who invest money in Bitcoin or hold their wealth in Bitcoin. So it's probably less than 10,000 people in Bitcoin who hold significant amount of their net worth in Bitcoin. So it's a very small amount. It's a very small percentage in the whole population of the world or in India. But remember how Britain or Europe had such a small population, but they managed to conquer the whole world, which had much bigger populations, 20, 30 times multiples of their own population. So me using Bitcoin and 100 people not using Bitcoin, I would still win over them. I would still extract wealth from them because of all the mechanisms I explained earlier. So you cannot ignore Bitcoin. You either accept and adopt Bitcoin and be the person who indirectly gets to, who can take advantage of this wealth increase, or you'll end up losing your wealth to that guy who holds Bitcoin. So Bitcoin adoption in the last few years has been, more people have been realizing this. Bitcoin's price has continued to grow up, and with every passing year we get more institutional adoption and more people investing. So it's, one second. So this is the performance of Bitcoin over the past 10 years annualized. So the whole return you annualize it. This is Bitcoin, this is Max 7. It is the fan companies, the biggest Amazon, Apple, Netflix, those companies, and this is the average performance of SP 500. And these are other forms of other asset classes that people store their wealth in, like private equity, venture capital, or people hold their wealth in hedge funds, or pension funds, bonds. Even the stock market, the Indian stock market has been underperformed by Bitcoin. Then we have another. So for every year since the past 10 years, this graph is the performance of Bitcoin. I know the numbers are not very visible, but this is Bitcoin. The yellow bar is the gold's performance. As you can see, gold has been going up a lot recently, so the yellow bar has gone up, but nothing comes close to what Bitcoin is offered. We have US bonds and all these other asset classes. Nothing beats Bitcoin, because we are living in this period of rapid economization where Bitcoin is going for all the forms of money. The Bitcoiner's vision eventually one day, and it will eat up gold, it will eat up any other form of money which people are using to save their wealth in, because Bitcoin is simply a superior, it offers, it is a superior tool to save money. So we'll talk about some myths about Bitcoin. I just addressed how nobody knows its final supply. So it can be the developers of Ethereum can put out new code tomorrow which increases the supply of Ethereum, and that would take away all the value of Ethereum. And if you put all your money in Ethereum, then you lose all your value. Whereas only Bitcoin, because there is no admin, there is no one main guy that can control the network. That is actually the selling point. That is the property of gold, which is the best. There is no CEO for gold. There is no marketing team for gold. It's just a neutral protocol that everybody magically cooperate and agree and trade with. So Bitcoin is its own separate thing. In the fiat world, fiat is again rupees, dollars, all these government currencies. That they are the fiat currencies, which were once backed by gold, but now they're just floating exchange currencies. There's no fixed value. They're constantly eroded away. That's why nobody has any significant amount of their wealth stored in rupees. Nobody has a big amount of cash pile, because it loses its value constantly. So that so you have to put, because your money is losing away at a crazy pace, you invest your money in anything you see, and that drives up the price of other stuff. That drives the prices of other stuff. This is exactly why houses have become unaffordable, because back then on the gold standard, houses were a place to live. It was a good, it was just like how you would buy a car, you would buy a house to live in. It was only that. But now, because of the fiat inflation mechanism, we are treating houses as a saving instrument. People hold their wealth in real estate, in land. So this disruption is caused by the fiat inflation mechanism, and in that world, just like how it ruins the housing market, just like how it ruins the other markets, crypto is also another sub-industry of that. So crypto don't get trapped into the world of Ethereum and all these currencies. Bitcoin is your gold. Just stick to that. Don't put your money in platinum and copper and iron. Because if you put your money in Ripple and Cardano and silver, that's equivalent to putting your wealth in iron. So we'll talk about the legal background in India. For 4 years, India banned Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, but the ban was lifted in 2020. So ever since then, it's completely legal to invest in Bitcoin. You cannot accept Bitcoin as a payment as a business. So there's still a lot more work to do. But you can save your wealth in Bitcoin finally, and you can take advantage of this once in a human history of opportunity. So most people think, we think rupees in value, rupees and dollars are the stable currency. Whereas Bitcoin is this crazy volatile thing. But what's actually happening is your rupees constantly losing value. The stuff that for 10 years ago you could buy a lot more goods for 1,000 rupees. When I was a kid, I remember seeing the 1,000 rupee note was a big thing, and one guy got a 1,000 rupee note to the school, and that was a huge, became a serious thing. We took it to the principal, because how can you bring that big amount of money? And now 1,000 rupees is nothing. We do that around dinner. So that is basically how the rupees constantly losing its value. As you can see, the dollar and rupees constantly losing value, but we tend to think that's the case, but what's really happening is that. I have a few more graphs, and I will take questions after that. It is not visible at all, but I wanted to share the Bitcoin price graph since 2010. It's not visible at all, but you can Google logarithmic. Wait one second. Yeah, this was the graph I was trying to show you. So Bitcoin is actually volatile, but you perhaps misconstruing how volatile it is. This is the regular scale we tend to think in. So a quick maths lesson and some graphs. The y-axis here goes up, the unit size is fixed. So 0, 20,000, 40,000, 60,000. So it goes up like that. So when we visualize the price of Bitcoin in that graph, it may seem like this crazy bubble thing where the price of Bitcoin was basically nothing for like a decade, and then we have this crazy up and down roller coaster slide to something crazy. But that's not the case. Because Bitcoin went from 0 to $2.3 trillion in 15 years, that is rapid acceleration, that is rapid economization. So we cannot visualize the growth of Bitcoin in such a scale. So we use the logarithmic scale, where the unit price goes up exponentially. So instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, we go up by 1, 10, 100, 1000, 10,000 in a unit scale like that. Because that's how rapidly Bitcoin is going up. So when we visualize, this is the same graph, but we switched up the unit, we switched up the x-axis here. That's on a linear scale, how we are used to in our regular day-to-day life. But because for such a crazy appreciating asset, we need the logarithmic scale. And here you can see clear cyclical pattern, and Bitcoin goes up over time in a considerably stable manner. So it's not as volatile as you think. Nobody has ever lost their money by investing in Bitcoin and holding it for more than 4 years. That means, say the worst time to buy was here. You made your money back and made more profit in less than 3 years. So it's just like gold. Gold goes up and down, but over time gold goes up. Gold may go down tomorrow, it may go down in a week from now. But in 10 years, with very high certainty, we can expect gold price to be higher than what it is today. So Bitcoin is just the digital gold, which is superior than gold. And if Bitcoin keeps going up at this pace, within a few decades, it will eat up all the market cap of gold. And gold will be just like another form of inferior. Gold will become silver. Because back then silver was valuable, but because of gold being superior to silver, that silver became worthless. And that is the same thing, same battle happening between Bitcoin and gold.
Charan.
And my internet is not working, but I wanted to show the new inflations every year. Whereas what MicroStrategy has done is, instead of holding their company's cash balances in dollars, they've held their cash balances in Bitcoin. And since 2020, ever since it started doing that, its stock price has gone up crazy, 1100% in 4 years. We have a mini MicroStrategy in India as well, which is Jet King Info Trading. It is an Indian company which adopted the same strategy, which instead of having their cash balances in rupees, they held Bitcoin. And even you can check Jet King stock price on Google and see how much it has gone up after they adopted Bitcoin. So companies are adopting. Bitcoin is already one of the largest currencies in the world. So that should give you enough confidence. Here is Michael Saylor is the guy behind MicroStrategy. He's the CEO. So he convinced Elon Musk to hold the Tesla's cash balances in Bitcoin, and in 40 days, Elon Musk ended up buying a lot of Bitcoin. So the richest people in the world, the richest companies, the richest managers are all on this board. So now we'll do a small activity, but so you guys need to take out your phone. You may win some free Bitcoin. So will you
Guys, sorry, we took some more time. So I'll just give you a small activity. Everyone has your phone and internet, right? Can you guys check what is the rate of one Bitcoin today? And you also please check now. Bitcoin, BTC. You know the like how INR. You know what is INR? Sorry? No, not Indian national rupees. Okay. So, and for Bitcoin, what is the name? Sorry? BTC. This side, why boys are very silent? Okay. So what is the rate it's showing? Ma'am, can you tell me what is the rate it's showing? Sorry? Okay, it's of today's, but few days before it was more. So BTC is expected to go still more further, like 2 crores, 8 crores and more than that. But long ago it was about come down, like we can able to purchase. But by purchasing now it's 1 crore is become right now. Like how, do you guys know what is the rate of today's gold, 1 gram?
10,000.
No, 1 gram. Like, sorry?
10,000.
10,000. Yeah, 12,000. Okay. Well, actually, before Corona, for information, it was around, I think, 4,000 or 5,000, I guess. Correct? Like 5 years before. And imagine it is like, if you would have invested, like, you would have got like 1 gram itself, like 6,000 profit. Correct? So that is the main core, planning of your finance. So, what are the courses you guys are studying now? Like, what are students here? Which course? Okay, all are MBA Finance. Okay. Using engineering. Okay. So, this age, like during the YouTube, we have so many, sources to learn. Like long ago, like when I was studying, after completing my college only, I got this touch phone. Before that, it was only keypad and no internet. Why I am mentioning this point is in the news channel, if you guys see, only in the last, it will come like National Stock Exchange, BSC, Stock Exchange. That is only for 8 minutes, 10 seconds के लिए वो आएगा ना, like it is, but बाकी का पूरा dance, music, drama वो waste for our life. Okay, we can entertain, but media is keeping us full day, on watching all drama. Everyone will be crying, beating, fighting, full violence. Even today they are showing. But even today they are not educating the mass people, like common people like us, in terms of like how to save. They will only give the status. Hey, itna hai, gold ka itna ho gaya, rate ho gaya. And they could have had like a drama kind of a thing, sessions like half an hour, 1 hour ka educating people. Like what is stock market, what is company, okay? Can anyone tell me the Hyderabad's top 5 companies based in Hyderabad? I don't want Microsoft or high-tech city companies, or at least 2 based in Hyderabad. Management, no, you guys should have studied about business. You are all googling right now. At least one company from Hyderabad. No, Microsoft is a US firm, they have an office in high-tech city. I'm talking about who are based from Hyderabad. Yeah. You guys should be knowing, you guys are in Hyderabad, the biggest company. Charan, can you tell me? Yeah, correct.
GMR Group.
Correct. GMR Group. So GMR is the one who is one of the, GMR is Kranti Mallikarjuna Rao. So how many of you know about the GMR?
Airport.
Yeah, GMR is handling the airport of Hyderabad Airport and Delhi International Airport, and they are the top people in the country. They are in the stock market. So these kind of things you should analyze, like as being an MBA and management students, you guys have to analyze the business, companies, like how to run. Because for example, running St. Mary's institutions for more than, like it was like Centenary, it is close to 100 years. It is a very huge task. So many students, so many professors, so many courses. So like that you have to plan for 100 years. That is what management, managing your life and your work and business. So in that way, this particular session was more about financial. Finance as in, like how are you planning, like what are the apps you are using for savings, how many you guys are saving, and so and so. So now I think we get into the activity where you will be scanning the QR code and you will get a reward also for it, like reward in Bitcoin. But you will not get 1 Bitcoin, which is more than a crore. Okay. You will get only a small fraction of it. But still, yeah, but that small fraction in the future,
Bitcoin ship by owning smaller fractions of it. But if Bitcoin's price goes up by 100%, then it's the same. The amount of money you invested is directly linked, so you shouldn't be worrying about that. It's just a number. So scan this and download SwapSo app from Play Store. I don't think the iOS version is ready, so we have to go to the website. For those, for the ones who, for the ones with for whom the QR code is not working, you have to go to this website, and you have to create a wallet.
guys, can you able to scan this? Okay.
It is app.swapso.io.
Whoever is using iPhone.
So for the people on iOS, you should go to that website, or if the QR code is working, you can do that. So after downloading the app, you have to create a wallet. So here, you should keep your seed phrase safely. So just like in how Instagram you have a username and password, for holding your Bitcoin in the wallet, there is a public key and a private key. So the public key is just like your UPI ID, you can share it with anyone. So if you share your public key with anyone, they can send money and you can receive that. So it generally works just like the UPI ID. Whereas the private key, it's very sensitive. You should have access to it. And if you mess up and somebody else gets their hands on your private key, they can take all your Bitcoin. So private key is also called as the seed phrase. So when you download the app, and it will display the seed phrase to you. You should save it somewhere very securely, and you should not share it with anyone. It's like your Instagram password. After that, we'll go to the next step.
See, this is like your Google Pay, Phone Pay kind of thing, where you store your INR, correct? As a digital currency. SwapSo is a company which is making this app. It is a very secure app. Okay, so you can go to this QR code and you can download it, and you can follow the further steps. But make sure that there will be a seed phrase. You have to note it. That is your password. You have to note it. Okay, whenever you are buying or you are getting Bitcoin in the future, you can save it in this, and you have to keep it safely in this particular app. And anyone have any doubts in downloading or next steps?
Do you have any doubts to download?
Did everybody managed to download it? Because you cannot keep Bitcoin in Google Pay, Phone Pay. Okay, this is like a wallet kind of an app.
You cannot keep your money in Google yet.
Yeah. So, if you guys have any doubt, maybe you can ask later.
So once you download this app and you create a wallet and you take your seed phrase, next step, because SwapSo is the organizer of the Bitcoin India tour, you have to follow them on X, which is Twitter. And if the first 10 people to like and comment will receive 1,000 rupees worth of Bitcoin.
So, there is
after important instructions. So after you download the app and you create your wallet, it will show you your seed phrase, which is your password, where you should save it safely. And then after you go inside the app, you will have a public address, which will be in an alphanumeric form. And that address, you have to paste it on the comments, or like in comment your public address in the most recent post. So if you comment your public address there, the first 10 people to comment will send Bitcoin to those addresses. So because you have access to that via your private key, you will receive that Bitcoin. So this I think this scanner will take you to the Twitter page of Bitcoin wallet. So create the app, get your public address, then paste that public address in the comment section. The first 10 people to do it will get a Bitcoin.
Which doubts I can? So simple, you can scan this, it will take you to the page where you can follow this Bitcoin wallet. Okay? Then you can also follow this, and then you have to like and
Is it working?
Please stand up and ask.
Come forward, sir.
Where are you stuck? Yeah, is it creating wallet? Yeah. Okay, can I excuse you more? So here is the recovery phase, which is the important password that I told you guys. So once I click on show, it will show the recovery phase, and yeah, so it just displayed the recovery phase. Take a screenshot or note that down somewhere else. That's your password, where it should save it safely. Okay. If you share that screenshot with anybody else, they can take a Bitcoin. So be very careful. Okay, so next step, I press on continue. So it is going to verify if you save the seed phrase. So it's going to ask you what's the number 2. So go to your screenshot, see what's the number 2 word and enter the correct one. Go to your gallery, open the screenshot. It's verifying if you saved it successfully or not. Check the second word, don't tell it to anybody. Check the second word, go back to the app, select the correct one. Yeah, continue. Okay, wallet, saving wallet. Okay, the wallet has been created here. So it asks for, it showed the recovery phase, screenshot or copy to clipboard, and then in the next step it will ask you, it will verify if you note it down that seed phrase successfully or not. So it's going to ask you a question from that word 3, word 4. So you go back to your recovery phase, look at what that word 5 or word 6 is, and you enter the correct one, and you go to the next step. Here, if you click on the top, this is your Bitcoin address, the public Bitcoin address. Copy, that's copied to your clipboard. Now scan that QR code and comment. If you do it quick, you get Bitcoin. Anybody else is stuck? Everybody got it?
guys, if you have downloaded, when you go inside, click on receive. Like when you click on receive, okay, it will show a QR code as well as
The seed phrase.
yeah, seed phrase, which is a public key, yeah, in the term. Yeah, so that is your UPI ID, which is like, which will be alphanumeric, which will be very long. So that you copy paste it in the page like and comment. So